recorded. I'm gonna suggest that we move around a couple agenda items since Judy's not here yet. Nate is here, so Nate, do you wanna talk about green energy?
Sure.
Grants with us? We're very excited, thank you for submitting the application and, getting us through that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I was talking to Morgan this morning about how I was very happy that our rainy jaunt that one day ended up working out in our favor. So for those watching at home, we did recently receive a $188,000 competitive grant from the Green Communities grant of DOER, the Department of Energy Resources. So we will be working on that. The select board will be taking it up on Monday to authorize me to enter a contract with DOER. Other than that, right before this, there was a meeting of the Finance Committee and they endorsed my capital improvement plan for the year FY25 through FY29. One of the items that I was able to place in there incredibly last minute is the town taking on the $12,000 match portion of the Green Communities grant, which was graciously offered by the Library Board of Trustees earlier in the year, but we had to reevaluate last week when things started breaking. The last week, and I really appreciate you guys coming to save the day and funding that boiler and taking your weekends to run around in your winter coat and just you guys really showed up for the library over the last week and a half, and it is greatly appreciated. But one of those things was funding the boiler, which made the trustees obviously less able to fund the match. So I was able to get it onto the capital improvement plan proposal, which has now received endorsement from the Capital Improvement Planning Committee and the Finance Committee. It will go in front of the select board next Monday and then just kind of be part of the budget planning process. I can't imagine that a $12,000 item would be the first to go. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
First to go meaning the
Like get
roof?
cut, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the matching grant is to upgrade the electrical panel.
Yeah. Other than that, things
Are there things we need to do in preparation for?
This will probably take 8 months to come to fruition. I will keep Chris and yourself in the loop on what's going on. The gentleman that was with us when we toured the facility from ECI will be the group doing the project. They support early on, and there's a laundry list of vendors that you can choose, but it's usually the people that consult for you throughout the grant application project end up doing it for you. I had a couple of people, vendors, contractors reach out about securing the project, but it is kind of a day late, dollar short for that. So I thank the Green Communities and the Library Board of Trustees and the MRPC for their assistance. MRPC will continue to do the reporting for this project and should be good.
One thing I think we do have to do is we have to reach out to the Mass Historical, because we have the preservation restriction agreement for any changes that we make that are substantive
Right.
to HVAC, and so I think this is one of the things we're gonna have to reach out to them
Yeah.
about and get them to start weighing in on it,
Yeah.
so.
I figured that was gonna be a portion of this, and when we went on the tour, I don't remember which one of them was, but they spoke with ECI about if they had experience in that sort of realm, and they did. So we're gonna follow every direction and do things appropriately, or we're not going to do it at all.
Okay. Yeah, so Chris CRI should probably reach out to let them know that this is coming down the pike.
Yep.
So,
Alright.
and I know at a meeting a month or two ago, we had talked about, would it be beneficial to bring, Wendy Frontiero, who did our building inspection report, together with the ECI people, to kind of like look at like positioning and like giving a architectural historical perspective, like, you know, to give.
I don't see why it would hurt if they're willing to meet.
Yeah, we have some, I think we have like $800 left of the money we were allocated through CIPC, so it might be worth maybe reaching out to her.
I'd be in favor of that. So important at the beginning of something. Sorry about my voice.
Do you want her?
A new voice.
So, I'm sorry, Nate, ECI they'll be doing the work, you
Yeah.
don't need to go out to bid for,
No.
okay, thank you,
It's a state grant, they got it all figured out.
okay.
Know they're on the state bid list.
Okay,
Can you just click on stay anyway?
You do have a guest.
We don't, it just times out
Oh.
after 10 minutes, or if you don't say stay on, so. Alright, any questions about the green energy or heat pumps?
nope,
I appreciate Connie and Chris being so eloquent in my press release.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
wrote it. Like,
Just signed off, so,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
This is
In
really
terms of-
exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about this, and I know you guys have Miss Tricia all pumped up about applying for other grants for the library, so I think there's gonna be some good stuff
Yeah.
in the future.
Absolutely.
I would agree, so.
Cool.
Great. You wanna talk about strategic planning then, cause we kind of we wanted to share with you the timeline of what we
Absolutely.
were doing. And we also have a draft community survey that we're planning on sending out. So we want to, I guess, make sure we're not gonna be in conflict with anything that you might be doing, in regards to the survey and so forth. So as far as the timeline goes, we are currently, so in January, we developed a sub-team of, Morgan, Krista, and I, and we kind of developed a timeline. And so in February, we're working on developing the survey, the community survey, and potentially identifying groups we want to do, focus groups with. So we might want to specifically do a group session with like the senior center, seniors and so forth. March is when we plan to issue out the survey. During the month of March would be our data collection. And then in April would be evaluation, and we'd also would like to meet with like the select board at some point to kind of share the data we've collected, but also to get their feedback kind of about what they think is the direction for the library and strategic planning.
And something I would suggest doing is working with the town clerk to find past practice on if they've allowed people to do things ahead of elections, because there is a large election in March, and if you could get people to pick up the survey, that would be huge.
I like how the survey's sitting out, like when
Yeah.
people come in to register. Yeah, that could be.
That's like March 5th or something.
It's
Okay.
early March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
we can-
Tuesday.
Yes.
Like-
First Tuesday
Yeah.
anyway.
During the month of May is when we're gonna start identifying goals and strategies. June and July, we are hoping to draft the strategic plan. And then in August, we'll meet as a trustees to discuss the almost final draft and make any final adjustments, with final approval in September, and then sending it to MBLC in October. And I don't know how this maybe aligns with like your long-range plan that you're working with for the other departments.
So we're working on assembling a lot of things. As I'm sure you picked up on, COVID and turnover and just everything that happened over the last couple of years really derailed and hurried up certain things. Like the influx of money from ARPA and CARES really helped take some things off of our to-do list in both ways, like off of meaning they're done and off of meaning, hey, let's put this off. So when I got here a year ago, there really wasn't a plan in place to move forward on much, so that is still something we're working on at a board and department level. It's difficult to think progressively when you're doing as much day-to-day as all of us are required to do with the many hats one wears in a small town. I try my best to put in the extra hours. I've been here since 6:30 this morning, so we're aiming and pushing forward, but they're outside of the budget cycle and applying for grants and doing some of the regular things. There's nothing that would really get in the way of this. A little bit before that, I'm going to be doing a survey of sorts with the Collins Center out of UMass, who is doing I've had to be careful how I word this all the time because people jump right to AI. They're doing a efficiency and emerging technology study on the ways we could use modern technology and advancements to create bandwidth for staff. So that will be in March, April. We'll be having public discussions about that. But other than that, it'll be a lot of internal, a lot of writing. We're really in the planning phases right now. We'll likely bring the agricultural bylaw to town meeting either in June or in the fall. We have to talk to someone a little bit more. He's not looking. Like,
He's writing it down.
I'd be glad to talk about it.
yeah, I know Chris was gonna reach out. But other than that, we're good. None of this would really get involved
Okay.
in anything that I'm doing. Any way we can help, putting on the town website, sending it out,
That
sign.
Blast would be
like-
really helpful, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because
the-
especially it could have a link, because we're using, Google Forms, so
Mhm.
they could just link right to it from the email.
Yeah, so if we
Yeah,
could have a,
that's
the
fine.
town announcement, that would
Yeah.
be super helpful.
Send me anything, I'll
Okay.
put it out anytime.
Okay.
I don't shy away from the communications on the website.
Okay. Other questions for Nate regarding strategic planning?
It's not really a question, but one of our goals is to find out from people who don't use the library and, you know, through the survey, but also, like, if you could help us maybe with focus group ideas, you know, cause there may be people that, you know, come through your office for other, you know, other things, or maybe people who are, I don't know, I mean, it seems like if we could get some people who are on some of these other boards, that would be, you know, that would be helpful too, but.
Besides limited hours, I haven't spoken with anyone that had anything negative to say about the library.
Well, wait, it's not necessarily negative or positive, but just,
Yeah.
you know, like if they don't, like,
Lots of positive.
I think we're looking to get as many
Yeah.
responses from as many different groups as possible.
yeah,
I wish this was off a little bit, because I could have offered you to work with Candace to get it out in the census, like I did that recycling survey.
Yeah.
But we're not looking to wait a year.
No,
Yeah.
Like,
no.
so-
Yeah.
And we don't really send out another mailer.
Okay.
But as we do it and come up with an advertisement for the survey and have QR codes, would
Yeah,
it be possible
put
to
it-
advertise in the town?
put it wherever you want.
offices and stuff?
Like, as long as it's not gaudy or dirty, put it up wherever you want.
Cool. I think we'll keep it classy.
Yeah.
When do you vote on the articles for the spring meeting?
In the spring.
Why
No.
not?
This year.
Yeah, where if that were to come up, it would have to come in front of the select board relatively quickly, because per the bylaws or the town charter, I forget which one states it exactly, it has to go to the select board for them to authorize the planning board to then go and hold a public hearing about it and vote on it. You likely know what that is better than I.
It's a couple of weeks for the planning board meeting, but I don't know the date when the articles freeze. In other words, you freeze the.
April
the warrant.
1st.
April first?
Yeah, right around there. If it's not exactly April 1st, it's right in that area. No, I'm your partner over here, and we share a staff member now, so if there's any way to utilize her in two facets at once, like, yeah, and Tony's available over here when she's not doing her select board member stuff.
Maybe if people come to an office, they can just be reminded, here's the library survey, I don't know.
Exactly.
The general public isn't exactly in love with doing our stuff either,
Mhm.
so.
Alright, we're gonna talk about the community survey next. If you wanna stay for that, you're welcome to, but if you wanna go home, that's also.
If you do not mind, I am going to
Yeah,
go home.
okay.
I
Thank you for your
appreciate
time.
you
Yes.
having me. I look forward to working with you. If you have any issues of substance for the legislators, they will be here on Monday evening. I don't know what kind of issues are in front of the legislature regarding libraries, but I'm sure there's something. Tuesday is a meeting of the chairs, where I try to biannually get the chairs together to see what ideas we can come up with and just have everybody be on the same page. That will be fun.
I'll be at
So,
that meeting,
Great.
so, yeah, I'll be there.
other than that, just keep an eye on the website and the Facebook page, and feel free to reach out anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank
for
you for
having
your
me.
time.
Have a good evening.
Tom, did you get a chance to look at the community survey?
That's the
Yes.
capital plan, if you wanna put it in your record for the
Okay,
meeting.
great, thank you.
I don't have my notes with me, but I will.
We
I
can
gotta
look
put
at
it
it
up.
on here. Oh,
For those at home, or is it,
There's nobody there.
we're being recorded,
Oh, we are being recorded, yes,
so
yeah.
it would,
Uh,
do you want to display it in a draft
can
form,
we do
or
it
would you
from
rather not?
this, or from, like on the big screen, is that what you're talking about?
yeah,
Can I do that?
Do you know how to do it?
No. I think we tried before, but.
Yeah, but we didn't use it with the Chrome, I was trying with the laptop.
Well, do we wanna put the draft up, or do we
Yeah,
wanna?
I think it's
Chopped up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it on the website or in your email?
It's on, it's a Google Doc,
In our email.
yeah,
it's in the agenda
Right.
too,
Oh.
so.
right, it's in the agenda.
It's attached to the agenda on the website?
Might not be attached on the website, cause it was a draft.
Cause there's a computer attached to this television.
It's, I mean, if you can connect to her computer, then we can,
Do you do it down here?
How do you do share on this computer?
I don't know. It's a Chromebook.
It might be up here.
Oh, yeah.
If you
Oh,
hit
yeah.
cast.
Oh, yeah. Good thinking. Passwords, Zoom, more tools. Cast.
Should be in there, mind if I drive
Yeah,
this real
please.
quick?
Ah. there's no, Windows button.
Well, we can bring it up on this laptop and Tom could look at it.
Or I can show it to you.
What kinda,
Yeah,
does anyone have a Windows?
I have a Windows, yeah.
Hit Windows button A,
Windows button A. Oh my gosh, what?
so this and
Oh,
A at the
Alt
same
A?
time.
Oh, Windows, okay.
Oh, here it is,
And
cast
now
screen.
right over here, click connect.
Is it side door TV?
No, that's the TV in the now 55-inch TCL Roku.
Oh. I actually see it here, but I only see the senior center. And the side door.
It's connecting to your device. Should just go voodoo.
Can you add a device?
Does it kind of connect?
See this, it was in here, so
Yeah.
but it just doesn't show that TV for some reason. I think that's what happened before.
Ooh, something.
Here you go.
So which,
Oh,
was
it's
it
me.
the senior center?
It's Connie.
It's from mine.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Beautiful.
Kudos,
Thank
thank
you.
you,
All right,
Dave.
Thank you very much.
That's
Yeah,
better
I
than
learned that
laminated
last year.
instructions.
All right, have a good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
You too.
So we have to figure out how to get it on this one.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
So, I think the goal for tonight is to kind of review like the broad strokes of what's in the survey and not necessarily like wordsmith like every piece of information. And then kind of like have a motion to kind of proceed with the survey with any like final like wordsmithing. Does that sound okay?
And then also understand that we're still building the logic into it,
Yes.
so just general big umbrella survey impression.
Yes. So, I think this opening is what we used 5 or 6 years ago when we did the first strategic plan, which is just kind of like the welcome, like kind of explaining, what we would like them to do.
So there were a couple edits from the 2018 one. The 2018 was basically to get us started, and this was to carry us forward. But otherwise, it's almost same verbiage.
I know Krista, or Morgan, you talked about maybe adding a sentence or two about even if you don't use the library, please
Mhm.
continue to.
So as we were kind of discussing different groups, we want non-library users to likewise feel welcome to fill this out. And there are options on questions of not applicable, does not apply, move on to the next question. So if we provided an instruction of, we welcome your feedback even if you don't, and especially if you don't use our library,
Maybe we should
to
add-
let us know. You can add comments at the very end, and then, for the other questions, just use this as a response. And it's built into many other questions.
Yeah, so I could put a note here saying add.
I don't, does it let you make a comment?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm actually in the
I see.
survey.
Oh, okay.
I don't wanna put it in bold. But does that feel okay with the introduction?
Mm-hmm. Any other comments on
well,
that section?
gotta do something positive. While we encourage everyone to use it, we know some people don't, and for you, we do this. You know.
And then the next one just kind of, this first part is really kind of looking at library use and specifically the library building.
Oh, yeah, so we need to change that heading, library building use.
So I'm just toggling back and forth, cause this is a
Okay.
better view of it, so.
So frequency and then nature of the visits.
Yes, so, does everyone feel comfortable with the frequencies?
Why do we focus on the building?
We talked
You'll see where, again,
Do we,
I recommend that we kinda go over it,
okay.
because
so
we do
plow
have other
through it.
questions, this isn't the only question, we have, I think, 22, 23 questions.
It is a good point, like the first part, you know, should be attractive to everyone, but, you know, like, we might wanna reorder it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is the reasons for visiting.
And there's a couple of things, we could either, if somebody says, I don't use the library, then they might not see some questions. For example, this one. But there's another way to do it is you just have at the top of each one, it doesn't apply to me, so we have to figure that out. Cause it can get
Yeah.
kinda complicated if you have, you know, different paths, you might wind up missing.
And where we've seen, Krista and I worked on this quite a bit, it would be great to get like Chris and Tom, and Connie, even your input of how it looks and feels as a user.
We give it out to some people,
Yeah.
wives and husbands and whatnot, that would test it.
Cause we can always clear it out, so if people wanna actually
Yep.
do it, that could be helpful, although then they might not wanna do it again later.
The only one I had a question about was the genealogy and local history,
Yeah,
because everything else is like book oriented, using the library, and it felt like it was one that was a little bit more like program oriented, or like, it felt very specific in comparison to all the other ones. I'm fine keeping it, it just,
it's
it's
kind of
one
a
that jumped out at me.
carryover you know, choice that's probably somewhat generic, but I don't know, do we get people?
Not for geology, but definitely for local history.
we do that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Krista had put the local history into the closet,
Mhm.
and so now it's all in one spot,
Okay.
and people, you know, they'll come in and say, hey, I live on 123 Main Street, and, you know, my house was built in 1740, you know, is there any record of it? It's like, oh, well, we have this survey from 1995, so come on down.
Nice. Yeah.
I think the idea is that those are things you pretty much have to do on site.
Yep.
Because of the
Okay.
kind of materials.
Yep.
And much of what we got from this was from the 2018 as well as comparative with other library strategic plan surveys.
Does anything feel like there's anything missing?
I think sometimes people come in just to chat, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't know how you would put that.
Again, there's room at the end of the survey as well for just open-ended responses, in which if somebody feels strongly that we did not include, we've left space appropriate for people's feedback.
We then ask a question, if you don't visit the library, why don't you visit it? And this includes a variety of reasons, but it also then ties in, there's also options there that I might not use the physical library, but I use the online libraries through like Libby or, you know, other, I guess Libby, like, you know. Thoughts?
Unpleasant past experience.
Okay.
I
That can
think,
happen.
It's
I
true.
think the I forgot it was there and the unpleasant
Good.
past experience came from some comments and things like
Really
that, so we
good.
thought it was worth including.
Yeah, I mean, that can happen, it's like, yeah, one bad experience can just turn somebody off, so. And then if you use other libraries in addition to our library, you know, why do you do that? So that's an open-ended question for people to provide more details.
So this is like a set of questions which, you know, could be moved if we, you know, if we decide. We kind of, I think we're kind of following the order from
And-
before.
And we try to, you'll see, like each page has kind of similar used questions.
So if we move into the second section, it's kind of getting at what users value and their satisfaction. So we ask them about the current library hours. Their satisfaction with it, if they're not satisfied, what would better serve them? Then we ask about accessibility of the library for your use.
And I think question 6 is something that we kind of feel we may remove altogether and incorporate elsewhere, or do we feel as trustees we should have it as a standalone?
My question, I had a note here, I was just saying, do we need to define accessible? Cause I always struggle with it, cause are we talking about accessible as in accessible ADA accessible? Or accessible like,
Well, that's where we
It's, like,
broke
easy
it
for me
down by
to-
physical, website and collections.
so are you talking like ADA accessible?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just wondering if we need to put something in there saying, like, referencing it as, not just like, we're looking at it from a ADA perspective rather than like, the hours are convenient, therefore the physical building is accessible to me, not that I can get into the building.
Okay. That clarification's
I
helpful.
would limit it to ADA. Up above you had parking and other things that affect it. Are you gonna add the words ADA or?
Well, that's why I'm asking, like, do we, I'm asking what,
I think
for me,
we-
I'm asking, what do we mean by accessible?
I think we were thinking of number 6 in the lens of ADA compliance.
Alright.
We had talked on the first page with regards to physical access to the building, whether you use it or not. And then this gets into, but then you'll also see if we scroll down, I think towards the bottom of 7, we rate the importance of different aspects, and I think accessibility was in here as well, but we didn't break it down, so I think we have it.
It's not in here.
I think it could be added to,
I thought we had it.
question 8, cause it's kind of redundant, I think.
Or satisfaction, so we kind of had it, we had it elsewhere and we were kind of going back and forth, and this is where it was helpful, and we decided to move on and get trustees' feedback of where did we feel it was most suitable. Should we incorporate it into, like, I think maybe it was question 8, 7 or 8, or leave it as a standalone, and then with Connie's feedback, should we include more specific verbiage, and are we looking for specific ADA compliance? And I think Krista and I were thinking with regards to ADA compliance.
Yeah, but I think if, when we get to question 8, we can see whether it's, cause I think it's kind of redundant and it will be confusing.
Okay. So maybe,
So if we
Okay.
just incorporate question 6 in the aspects of it, of physical building, website, and collections, you'll see question 6, 7, 8 all have, and in the same format, this not applicable, it's not important, it's somewhat important, or it's very important, and it's in that order of it doesn't apply at all to, it's very important across the board, we try to keep it consistent in the entire survey to keep it.
Just out of curiosity, I've never tried it, but is our electronic communication, I don't know the mechanism, but it's the electronic equivalent of Braille. Is it a speaking website?
Yeah.
I think you have to have software in order to do it.
Do we have that
I think it's individually, people have it.
at the other end?
Yes.
The other
The
end,
user's
yeah,
end.
the user kinda as.
And
I think that
I
was
think
why.
that as, correct me if I'm wrong, but as you were building the new website and there was feedback, it was, you have to almost provide a description for how the page is, so that the end user would then have, like, it would tell you it's a red background with an image of somebody reading a book that says story time or
Like
something
the alt
like that.
image.
If
like the
if
alt
the
text.
if the images, if you use an image, it is recommended that you just use an image. You don't use a picture of like your flyer that's saying frozen assets.
With text on it?
With text on it, because they can't read the picture. If you were to do that, you would have to write out in the alternate text
Yep.
that this is a flyer for frozen access, assets and all of the information underneath it. So it's better to just type in the data, so it's a
Yeah.
written word that they can use their reader to voice it for you. And if you do have a picture, just have, a description of
Yeah,
a
picture of the
woman,
front door.
picture of the front door, woman reading to kids type of thing.
But I think the software that Chris uses to make the website, it has, in the, behind the scenes, it does the accessibility.
All the
things.
compatibility.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
I just never tested it.
I did test it before it went live, and most of the things that were an issue were things like contrast, which Piperweb's corrected for us for links. They made them a little more darker, so they were more obvious. And that the picture of the library didn't have a description that this was the picture of the library, and he added that because for whatever reason I couldn't. But for everything else
Great.
was aligned, so.
Alright. Here's the important aspects, please write the importance of these aspects of, should probably be of the library. Please write the importance of these aspects of, it is of the library.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let me just fix that real quick
Yep.
when I see it. The only other comment I did have a comment about this one is there a way to make these the radio buttons instead of check boxes? Because I can check all of them if I wanted to.
Oh.
So I think we need to change it back
Okay,
to a
change the
check-
format.
a checkbox grid radio
Okay.
button. I don't know if that's checkbox grid, multiple
Yeah.
choice grid.
Oh,
That
can
looks-
you can do that there.
I need to see how that looks now. Sorry. Yep, okay, yep, so that.
So now you can just do one.
You just only do
Okay.
one, so.
Okay.
And only one?
Yes.
One for
Just-
each
can you just
line,
try it?
one for each line.
You can do one on each row.
One on each
Right.
row, yeah,
Yeah.
I good.
Yeah, great.
So this is starts with collections, activities, for going in range from toddlers to K through 6 teens, families, summer program, adults, seniors, thematic programs. So that whole part's kind of like programming. And then the latter half is more, services kind of within the library.
I wonder if we wanna add something for the, the online library. Like, we have library collections all in one thing. I'm just wondering if we wanna know separately whether people. Oh, wait, is it there?
So, if we go down to,
Oh, no, it was my reading history. Like whether we wanna know separately how important having e-books and
Content.
e-audio is. has
Well,
my
that's where-
reading history, but
Is it-
that was just,
I think it's under here, what aspects of the library collections are most important to you?
So,
question 9, I think,
okay,
Get
so
to
it
cover
covers
that.
that,
so I'm
okay.
wondering if we need to break it down even by like question 7, 8, and 9, or really it's how important are these aspects, and it's everything. So really 7, 8, and 9, we tried to like group, but I mean, we could turn it into just one entire thing.
7 and 9 are kind of the same thing. Cause one is how important are they, and then what
Because-
aspects are most important to you.
Well, even 8 is like talking about the physical building,
Well,
but it's still
8
talking about aspects of the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah, but
Of, is it safe?
But 8, I think this is where we have website, but we could put accessibility of the website, design of the website, and I think that would accomplish what we were trying to do in that
In question
other
number
question.
6?
Yeah. So we could just add,
So with this page in general, rather than having question number 6, 7, 8, and 9, what we could in theory do is incorporate it all into one of, the header would be of how satisfied are you with all these, with each of these aspects of the library. Have one long laundry list, and then with question number 6, if we move it
Well-
down close to like each of those categories down to like 9 of accessibility, and we could say like ADA accessibility of the physical building, ADA accessibility of the website. We could have right underneath that website design that has nothing with ADA.
yeah,
We can then have ADA collections.
I think that part's kinda confusing. Having collections with that. But I see these are different. One asks about what's important of all the things in the library, and then 9 asks like more specifically what kind of, what genre.
And that's why we had tried to have them
Yeah.
in groups, but then also we are asking in the same format, just
Mhm.
different aspects of the library. So should we
Mhm.
separate them, or should we?
I think, I kinda like having them separated, cause I think if I saw a 50 thing laundry list, I
move
think
on.
I would be like, no, you
Mhm.
know? But I think here, please rate, maybe this question changes to, please rate the importance of the programming in the library.
Mhm.
If we remove library books and more.
Yeah, I like that.
These are all programs.
Yeah.
And then these we maybe find another place for.
Mhm.
Well, we asked
'Cause
them
we
about
had
the
the-
hours separately already, so.
It's true, we did ask about the hours
Yeah.
already.
So we
So
keep
question,
it broken down by different groups and try to redefine the groups a little bit more specifically. So we can talk about programming and ask, please rate these aspects about the programming. We can ask, please rate these aspects of
The collection.
the collections.
And detail the collections.
Yeah.
yeah,
Books, periodicals.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is,
Yeah.
we do have that in
Yeah.
question 9.
9. Do we
Yes,
want to
but it
move
only
8
says
and
books
9?
and more.
Now, but if you go down to question 9, it
Yeah.
actually
You're
is a
right. I
We'll
have
question.
that.
take books
Yep.
and more out of the other one, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
So I would take out,
Yeah,
like, library collections from here.
yeah,
I would take out museum, cause
yeah,
that's already discussed.
yeah.
And those would be in with collections.
Hours, yeah, and they're already in the
Yep.
collections, and then
Yeah.
hours, and then this reading history, assistance from library staff comes under this library staff question,
Yeah,
and book discussion is a program,
okay.
right? So the
Yeah,
anything that's kinda
good.
hanging out there is interlibrary
Yeah.
loan.
So question
So that could
7 will
be-
be programming. Do we wanna switch 8 and 9? Cause 8 is kind of different.
I would then do collections, and then
Yeah.
you're right, I would switch 8 and 9,
And so question 9 will be types of collection.
yes, what collections, so I think the way it's written now. It could
I
be
mean,
which of the
no.
library's collections are most important to you,
Yeah,
or how important are are these libraries' collections to you?
and then 9 is satisfaction.
Because here you have the Blu-ray, you have your audiobooks on CD, you have the
Right,
do we have the ebooks?
yeah, it is.
Downloadable ebooks,
Yeah.
yep. And then we have the museum passes, yeah, so.
Okay, that's good.
And then question 8 would be, how satisfied are, the new question 9 would be, how satisfied are you with,
This is the building, or no,
With
well, the website is not.
everything is the building except for the website.
Yeah, but
So-
this is aspects of the library. First, we ask about programs, then maybe if we switch these, we ask about the collections, and then we ask about the library,
Yeah.
so that's
The only thing
fine.
that's
I think
kinda
that's
hanging
fine.
out here that doesn't quite fit is the website. Cause everything else is about the building. Or in association to the building.
Yeah, well, we could have a separate, do we wanna have a separate question for the website?
I think so, especially cause we do have a new
Yep.
website,
Mm-hmm.
so we might wanna ask a separate question.
Okay. So remove, I'm not gonna keep these in the minutes, but I'm just making these notes here. Remove website, 2 separate question. Okay.
And then we move down to how satisfied are you with the customer service? And I like everything, I just made a note that the technology assistance and questions answered in a timely manner. Don't agree with the first part of the sentence. Library staff are helpful, knowledgeable, professional. Technology assistance, like it doesn't.
Worded differently.
It needs to be
Able to
worded.
provide or,
Able to provide technology assistance. Library staff answer my questions in a timely manner. Just so it kinda drives with the opening.
so it's number 10.
Oh. I think you could easily, so right here's a question about the website. So you could say, you could have a separate radio button box of how easy is it for you to
Oh.
use the library website?
There it is.
And then you could say, what do you access?
So to question 11, we'll add something about the accessibility and the, well, I don't know if we could add it through there.
I would make
Or-
a separate,
Maybe just a separate question, like move the website
Oh.
close to where 11 is.
Yeah, okay.
And then it moves into accessing
mhm.
the website. So it's a different type of question, but they're proximity close to each other.
And we do have something hanging out here, so I think it's a note to ourselves, but we just need to remember to remove it.
Of renewing items.
Well, it says, I think this is automatic, question mark, we just
Oh,
need to
yeah.
remove,
Yeah.
we just
Chris,
need to
do you
remove
know
that.
about that?
And I kinda feel
It's automatic renewal.
So,
We
should
can
it
just
not
take it off.
say renew items?
We're still capable of renewing items for people.
No, I mean, if somebody would want, like, is that a reason why they would check the website?
Oh,
It says to
No.
check library
No,
account,
'cause-
e.g. renew items.
they would, well,
I thought the message was the renewals are automatic.
the renewals are automatic, but not everybody still remembers that.
You could
If
check
they,
for due
if they were to
date,
go to the
maybe.
website, they would use the website as a portal to go to CW Mars to attempt to renew, cause they can't do it on our website, it would just get them to
I
another
would
place.
just take the question out.
Well, but you still might wanna check your library account.
Well, nowadays,
We
a
could
lot
just-
of people have, the app,
Uh-huh.
and they can check it on their phone. For people who don't wanna use technology, they come in and they ask us, and we do it if they like it.
So maybe we need to add that, I use the, instead of the website, they might just use the app. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes, if they're gonna go to their collection, if they're gonna go to their card and see what they checked out, see what's due, what's on hold, they're not gonna go to our website at hubbardstonpubliclibrary.org, they're gonna go to cwmars.org, or they're gonna go to the app on their phone.
Which is the CW Mars app.
Yes.
Okay.
So then it really isn't applicable
Right.
Okay, so we
as
can-
we're asking.
Well, I think they might still wanna check their account, but we should get rid of the renew. But should we add something about the app?
I wouldn't, because this is a question about the library website.
Okay,
And to check their account, they'd be going to CW Mars, not to the town's.
okay, so we can take that off, that's fine. That's fine.
And then we ask about how you learn about library programs and services.
So we probably need a not applicable or something here. If,
And we should probably have it close to the beginning for each, if that's how we're going to have the formatting and logic of.
yeah, I mean, all these questions are ones that are gonna have a much narrower audience.
But we don't wanna take an active step to narrow it.
Yeah.
We don't wanna say, you can ignore this question.
Mhm.
We want them to suffer through it.
Mhm.
So are you suggesting that we have it towards the end of, this does not apply?
I would put it up like number 2 or 3.
Mhm.
Of moving these questions up by 2 or 3?
I would put number 12 up like a number 3.
Okay.
Well, not okay, I'm suggesting it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
This is the door of the library. How do you find out about
Yeah.
anything that's going on?
Yeah. But also we need to add a, I don't know, or something.
Well, yeah, I've never accessed these, or I don't know how to do this. But, when you do a survey, we're all looking for information, but we also have to provide information to everybody else. Everybody that takes the survey should come away knowing a lot more about the library than
Yeah.
they did before they took it.
Yeah.
And this survey is very good that way, because it points out all the programs, children's programs, et cetera. But, even at the end, maybe you put in a useful links, because you've got links scattered through it.
Mhm.
Maybe you collect them and say, you know, for those of you who wanna go further, here's your useful links. And you have a half a dozen. Pull all of them out from the interior of the survey, and then add a few, like CW Mars or
Mhm. Yeah,
whatever
that's
it
a
is.
good point. When we can, we should probably add more links in here.
Not everyone will have this sheet electronically, but so be it.
So if this question 12 moves up to the beginning of the survey, right?
Well, near the front.
Near the
Yeah.
front, towards the
It's-
beginning of the survey, then, Krista, some of your concerns you had about this being all about children's programming, you could change its heading to like children and teen programming.
Yeah,
Because the next questions are.
yeah. And we've got no preference in some of them, but not in all of them. Or no preference not applicable. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's good.
So this will change to children and teen
Yeah.
programming. And then here we move into open-ended questions.
I believe that the prior question with regards to programs may not have been specific to teens.
Oh,
It then
I'm sorry.
moved into teens. But
I'm sorry.
it was also thinking, like, we do offer programs for families and adults. The poetry reading.
Like, like question 15, it's really like, you know, we currently don't
But that
have.
specifies teen.
Right. Oh, is that what
By-
you're saying?
Scroll up, I think it would have been like, is it 12?
12 is
So
how do you learn about-
learn about just programs? So that was just all programs and services.
Mhm.
That
And
question
that-
number 12 was not specific towards children, teen, or
Right.
any.
But if we move that one up to the beginning part of the survey, then this section will all be about.
Okay, so so then questions 13, 14, okay,
15 and would be,
just specific for,
I think so. I mean, the
and
written
leave
is-
that its own page about and header
Feel
Yeah.
okay?
Yep. Do we need to ask anything further with regards to where we're asking so much about children's and teens, about similar interest and availability scheduling for adults or seniors, or do we feel like we already have enough information for those, for scheduling?
I don't know what you mean.
So, right now, questions 13, 14, 15
Yeah,
are geared towards children and teen. We're asking about preference of time for story time, and this, I think, came from Trish. And what types of activities she would like for that type of programming. What I'm wondering is, we're not currently asking about their interest or availability for family or adult programming
or seniors.
or senior. Do we want to ask that information?
Yes.
So we may want to add another page, almost duplicate to this, of what would be your interest and availability. Keeping in mind that for questions 13 and 14, we took the timing specifically of what is available right now to provide children and teen programming.
Yeah, they're kind of specific.
So if we have general guidance of, like, senior book club typically takes place,
11 o'clock in the morning.
so we can say like 11 a.m. in weekdays.
Yep, on Wednesday.
But we perhaps could utilize what our current library hours are to see what would be the more preferable times to hold programs within looking at our current schedule. I'm not looking at changing or altering our schedule, but providing what our current schedule is and finding out what families and seniors and adults' preference for programming, even preferred days of the week.
What if we just had like open-ended questions, like she wanted to know, Trish wanted to know specifically about these things, cause she's trying to plan them, but
Yeah.
but we could have, you know, if you're interested in programs for seniors, you know, suggest a few or something like that.
Right, because we did have that huge laundry list of
Right.
like all those different
Right,
types of programs that we
Right.
decided to remove.
right,
So
What
it
if
could,
you asked an open-ended question like, how could we improve our service to
If
whatever
you
group
get
it is?
down to questions
yeah, there's
17,
one about
18,
improvements, but we could ask more specifically what
specifically.
kind of
I don't
programs.
think it said that. Can you go to it?
So I was just wondering, like, from Chris's point of view, is it something that the library would want and should we ask, keeping in mind likewise, I don't wanna have unnecessary questions in the
Yeah.
survey.
And we don't wanna
So
offer
is
things.
this information that we want? What would specifically be useful in it? And just because we have it for children's and teens doesn't mean that we need to have it, but would it help for programming?
You
And
could
if
have a
so-
little introduction in that section, you know, the library is working on
improving children and teen.
planning more programs for children's and teens. You know, if these are of interest to you, please answer these questions. You know, because it is it's much more specific than the rest of it, but you don't necessarily wanna open it up to, like, I mean, do we want suggestions of other programs or not? I think that's what
Well, are
Morgan's
they,
asking.
I thought we were talking about timing, are we talking about timing and programs, or just, I mean, cause I'll always take ideas from.
Initially I had said, do we want to ask for timing for seniors and
Yes.
programming and take
Mhm.
the current hours and ask for that? And then it went into like the programming and what we can do, which I'm saying, I kind of feel without providing that laundry list, is if we just can't kinda keep it open-ended of number 18. Do you have suggestions for the ways the library can improve? If somebody feels strongly, I feel like they would suggest, I really want a program about geology or
Or I wanna
cooking.
do the book club, but I can't do it on Tuesday mornings or whatever.
Exactly, I think that they would hopefully speak up and feel comfortable to do so.
Yeah.
I don't want to, like, I think that we weeded out a lot of questions that we didn't feel fit our library, and I likewise don't wanna open up a lot, I don't wanna open a can of worms with questions. So, but I also don't want, after looking at the children and teen heavy questions, to make other demographics, seniors, adults, families feel as though they're excluded. Or not necessarily considered.
Let's just ask one question about each major group, and that goes back to two things. Up front, I can't remember whether we're in any way qualifying the surveyed person. Do we ask what's your
Yeah,
age?
it's at the end.
It's at the
Oh, it's
end.
at the end, okay. And then, in a couple cases, you use the words, or we use the words, what do we do best?
Mhm.
And when you use the word best, you're really telling them to give me one answer. There's only one best.
Maybe well
Is that
would be
what
better.
we mean, or do we want the top three?
The manner in which that question is formatted, though, is an open-ended paragraph to where it's not limited in however they respond. So it's a paragraph.
Well, the word best means,
So it says, what is the library doing
superlative.
well?
But I think it builds off of it, like what is the library doing well, so you can list a bunch of things. What is the library doing best?
Okay, I didn't pick
Right.
up on that. There it is. Okay.
And then for question 18, that should be reworded because it's a yes/no question. Do
Okay.
you have suggestions for the way the library can improve? Yes.
Please specify.
Yeah. Or how can the library, what suggestions do you have for the library, or what's, I'm just trying to think of a way to make it open-ended as
Yeah.
opposed to closed.
Okay, so we could add questions for the other major age groups, but do we really care about their, what times, or do we just wanna get ideas? You know, like we could have like an introduction to that section, the library is working on planning programming for different age groups or whatever we wanna call them, you know, cause then we're talking about these very specific things for the children.
So that's why I'm wondering where it was driven of finding out for story and for children's and teen programming. Do we feel as though we have a good idea what works best for the public, for family and adult and senior programming? Like senior story time, I don't wanna mess with, it seems like it's a good model. But would you like to have information, if so, what information would be useful?
Getting a decent time, you know, getting a time for people, I mean, if I have something at 6 and they'd rather it be at 6:30, and they're not gonna come here because they're still finishing up dinner, then yeah, I think that would be an important thing for me to do, cause if I have to push something off for a half hour, I can do that, you know, but I don't know, so I think that finding out when timing is good for them would be helpful for me.
So you're seeing a question that has bracketed like hours, because what you're suggesting is you wouldn't say evenings, you'd say program starting at 6:30.
No, I would say, you know, what's a good time for you to come to the library for a program? You know, some people would be, yeah, I'm retired, 2:00 is great for me, and other people like,
So it would be an open-ended question then?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't
Okay,
have a
gotcha.
problem with an
Okay.
open-ended,
Yep.
you can compile
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
One thing we could do is like have this at the end of the survey and just say, you know, we're trying to get more specific feedback on library programs. Do you wanna answer these questions also? I don't know. I don't know if we
So
want-
What if you kept it general, like, so we have a note that we're saying, we have one question for children's about timing, we have
Mhm.
2 questions for teens, and I think we're focusing on teens because we don't have any teen programming. But then if we just have, a question like, what would be a good time for you and your family
Mhm.
to attend a program?
Yeah,
Not
that's good,
open-ended.
that's good.
What time
I think
would it be for you personally, and that could hit like seniors or adults or whomever.
Yeah, and suggest some ideas if you have some for
And
what
then
the
what
programs would
what
be.
ideas do you have for programming at the
Yeah, I like
library?
that.
Do you
I like that.
feel it would be best open-ended for the hours, or that we put in what our current library hours are?
Well, would that
Because I don't think the library's looking at changing their hours at all, and if we get a whole bunch of responses that say, gee, Friday night at 7:00 is the best time, are we going to change all the library hours?
We're just asking a survey, we're just,
Yeah, we're not promising
not-
anything.
it's not, you know, if I get one person that says, you know, 10:00 at night is, on
Mhm.
Saturday night is my time, that's,
But, for
Right,
example,
but it
we
could
could
be
have
a-
a special program on a
Friday
Friday
at 7.
evening if,
yeah, I don't
you
have
know.
to change my hours and
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
to
but if you
program
had a bunch of people
things.
saying Friday
Yeah.
at 7 is great,
Yeah.
then maybe you do
Okay.
offer like a one-off program. for
Alright, then
them.
let's leave it open-ended and open-ended for programming without providing a lot of.
I hope
Yeah.
you got something there.
No, it's probably just.
Or is that where it's
I think this is
saying we
really
have
good
to-
because it's encouraging people to, you know, share
Yeah.
what's of interest to them.
Okay.
These are really good comments.
So we
So
said-
after we get through the open-ended feedback questions, that's when we ask about personal information of whether they're a resident or not and demographics information.
Well, isn't it true only residents will get this?
No, not necessarily.
No, 'cause we
Now, if
had a
they go to the
paper-
gas station, or they go to,
Oh, if they pick one up, yep.
yeah,
Or
And
if
if
they
they-
come from a different town to attend story time.
yep.
Yeah. Or if they see it on Facebook or Instagram. You might have people who are not Hubbardston, and I think last time
We
we
do
had
have a
a
percentage
small
of people,
percentage.
if you guys were curious, I believe I can find out the breakdown of where cards, where they live. You know, I can't tell you who they are, but I can tell you that, you know, there's some
That's
people from
interesting.
Barry, some people from Templeton, some from Gardner.
Okay. Sometime, especially when we're reviewing the survey, that would be really cool compared to what our survey results are
Okay.
versus library data, that would be really
Yep.
neat to compare.
That would be awesome. Let me ask age range. Yes.
So the link in the agenda will go right to this, so get Mary to test it out. Get other people to test it out.
And then ethnic background. I just made a small change. I just put in Alaskan Native, cause that's the full title of that
Thank you.
group.
Okay, thank you.
Do we feel as though anything has been left out that really should be addressed? We haven't already.
Nope.
I mean, I can't think of anything that we're really, when we talk about collections, we talk about programs, we talk about website, we talk about the building, we talk about the staff. It feels like we've hit a lot of the areas, I don't know. Tom, do you see any glaring omissions? Cause you are not as close to it, I think, as,
Yeah.
well, certainly as Krista and Morgan are, and Chris and I were at a meeting where we were working on it, so I think.
How do we serve either the trades or the working person as a means to advance their position at work? I was just looking at a website today that offered classes on construction supervision and OSHA and all these kind of things. Giving people an opportunity to advance at work through learning is different than just reading a history book. So how do we introduce that concept if it's worthy?
I think some of the library's collections specifically, I think it really depends on what your trade is.
Sure.
But I know that there have been various things with regards to computers and business and finance that the library has acquired and put out.
I only
So I
mean
think
it
it depends.
as a mentioned topic, not as a deficiency in our library, but just as a, when
Oh,
you're
as a
coming down,
topic
when you're
in the
coming down
survey?
and saying, why do you use the library? I'm trying to make it so that another door opens, another subject matter gets considered.
Like study guides or.
So maybe it could be in the collections part, right?
We have how to do it.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Don't
teen
have-
stuff and,
It could be like, we have a how to do it guide, but it could be
It's
like
more of a
trade, yeah, it's more
DIY.
DIY, we could add something here like.
Career advancement?
Career advancement.
Career
Yes,
advancement,
that's
yeah.
the word.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. We should add that.
Alright. It's
Thank you.
8:15 and we still have some things to talk about,
Okay.
so.
So if anybody feels as though anything is missing, or if anybody listens to this and feels as though something's missing and wants to contribute to the survey before we do publish it to the greater community, please reach out to the library trustees.
Alright, I'm gonna jump back up towards the top of the agenda, to boiler update and payment. And first of all, huge thanks to Chris.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You went above and beyond of, you know, what you needed to do, like
Well, thank you,
moving, buying heaters, moving them around, putting up foam.
Multiple trips in.
I think it was amazing, so. And that is why we have one of the best library directors in the area, so,
Well, thank you.
so we really,
Yeah,
really
very
appreciate it.
good.
Yeah.
I suggest that we apply for, or put Chris's name in for a stationary boiler license.
So, we have a new boiler, we don't have the invoice yet, correct?
We do not have the invoice, and they're still currently working to meld the new boiler with the old infrastructure. The day, I think it was Wednesday morning, it flooded because there was water in the pipes that were steam, it had condensed and went back into the boiler, so Phil from Royal Steam is, working on that, and he's gonna go in tomorrow and try to get that addressed, so it's not an issue anymore. He went around, in a separate one, this is not part of the boiler, he went around and he checked the traps and, made sure, the steam traps, and made sure that those were okay. And he did say that, downstairs, there are some older thermometers, which are really just glorified turn on the fan, turn off the fan. That he suggests that we replace downstairs so that the Westinghouse heaters will work better. And one of them in the land use office, the Westinghouse, the fan either the bushings or the bearings are going, I'm not sure which one it is. It's one or the other, I'm not sure which. But he thinks that is gonna need to be replaced as well.
Okay.
So that is a separate issue and will be addressed with the services account,
Okay.
so.
Alright. So we're gonna get a hefty bill for a boiler. The quote we received was about 23,000,
23,780, I believe.
23,780 to replace the boiler.
But it can go up from there.
It can go up from there, and it potentially may go up from there. So, I think it would be helpful for us to start thinking a little bit about how this is going to be paid. And if we look at our accounts that we have, we have money in our state account. But Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, we can't use all of,
We can't
Can't
pay
pay for
the
all of it.
entire invoice using the state account because the boiler, is used to heat town offices and the historical part. So we can use a portion of it, or pay a portion of it using the state account, but not the entirety.
we have 16,000 in our donation account. There's also 24,000 in the Freetown account. And Chris reached out to Kelly
Right.
to see if we could figure out what that purpose is. In our note, we have
Kelly is the attorney.
is the.
No. Accountant.
Oh, sorry.
In our notes, in our research, we have a note from a previous trustee, indicating that they believe it is for, it's an open account that can be used for services, repairs, collections. Kelly couldn't look into our trust and she couldn't find any designation for what that's used for, so she felt that we could use it for
Right.
the boiler.
I had a document that you said you found, and
Yeah,
I
I
believe
think,
they were handwritten notes.
yeah.
Yep.
But it just wasn't very specific for that.
No, it wasn't, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So I think I am proposing, and I'm very open to it, that we kind of pull from each of those 3 accounts to pay for the boiler.
I'm in agreeance with that as well.
And so this is just what I was thinking, but again, completely flexible. I was thinking that if possible, maybe we could take 15,000 from the state account, 5,000 from the donation account, and 5,000 from Freetown. And that would give us 25,000, knowing that it might go up from there, but kinda like as a ballpark of percentages to withdraw. And I'm open to, I want to know what y'all think about it.
I need a basic question answered. If the boiler in this building failed, we wouldn't go to the policeman benevolent fund and pay for the boiler. Why is it that the library is responsible for all this boiler?
Because we're responsible for the
the
maintenance of the
building.
building.
Well, that's
I
fine.
think the town's getting a good deal from
But-
Yes.
They are.
but the
But they
town-
are, we were gonna
Right.
pay the 14,000 for the panel,
Right.
and they are paying for that now,
Mhm.
The 12,000 you mean?
the 12,000.
Yeah. Is that what he said? They've
Yeah.
taken over the 12,000?
Yes, they put
Yes.
it into CIPC.
Okay, so there's 12,000. And I just don't know, I can't bring myself to think that the library has to be self-sustaining like this, that the town wouldn't contribute something more than that. But I'll just let that lay there. The other thing is, these trust funds are regulated, what you can invest in is regulated by the state. And I haven't seen this year's report, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're paying 1.5%, 2%. Which means every year goes by, the value of the fund shrinks. So I would work to deplete more extensively, use more of the trust fund, in preference or rather than use the donation account. The donation account is already completely flexible as to what we can do with it. If we find a use for one of the trust funds, I would say you use it.
I second Tom, especially given that this came up unexpected and there is maintenance with regards to the trusts. I would, as much as I like them, it's one of those things of seeing the numbers and not necessarily being able to utilize it other than kind of what they're defined for. I know we have the beautification, we have plans for that. I would prefer to keep the donation count as is for scholarships, and should and when something arise such as an unexpectedly high oil, electricity or other bill,
Or an elevator.
or if
Or
additional.
something that isn't covered by a trust.
Is something that isn't covered by the trust and that we can't fill in, should another emergency arise, that we keep in mind that we may need to rely on that donation account to cover those expenses. So, in simplifying our books, I'm happy to utilize and use down the trusts, and then as we have in the past had phenomenally wonderful donors in the past, if we create new trusts that are more clearly defined of use in the future.
Yeah, Krista just pointed out that it says it right to us, I guess.
These might be the fees.
When we look at the trust funds, we don't see income.
The expenses must be what's
In fact,
coming out of it.
The managing company, it used to be Bartholomew out of Worcester, but now I think it's Unibank.
Mm-hmm.
And they're charging you more than we're earning,
Yes.
so that's a loser. So, you gotta spend
So-
it before it shrinks any further.
I wouldn't mind utilizing the Freetown while we have it, and going as far as if there are and when there are anticipated additional expenses from Royal Seam to complete the boiler and use with seam traps and thermometers, et cetera, so even looking at things that we may have considered coming from services, if we can, to the extent needed, to utilize Freetown, and then that line item's off, anything above and beyond that coming from the services, if that makes sense,
So you're saying completely
as needed.
use all the money in Freetown and.
Yes.
Before we lose
and
it.
eliminate the,
I would,
because it's gonna, it'll correct itself
But
in the
then,
future.
but then, as they have continued and will continue to maintain the trusts, and then it's down to similar, when we have a couple hundred left in it, and then it's just,
you don't wanna do that, you wanna
So,
deplete it.
so that is a good point,
You
it
said
might
it,
not be
get it off the
fees,
books.
right, is what you're saying, it might just be the stock market fluctuating.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
wondering,
okay,
so it might
okay.
be,
These are not in a stock market, these are all in CDs and terrible investments.
okay.
If they were in the stock market,
So that might be
we'd have
something we wanna
$1
look
million.
at in the future, right? Maybe they could be moved, I don't know.
My motion would be to deplete to zero the Freetown.
I second Tom,
You said it, I think, so I'm repeating what you said earlier.
yeah. To the, I mean, we might not have to, if Royal Steam comes down and say, oh, the boiler was only 13,000, fine.
The
Okay.
boiler was 13,000, the labor is
Yeah.
10,000.
And he's
Especially with
continuing to
additional
labor,
visits
sloping
with
pipes
labor,
and-
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so the boiler was 13, but the additional and the emergency visits and additional hours and bleeding lines and whatnot.
So I would say Freetown's number one and the state account's number two.
Have we had any recent bills with regards to oil or other that we should anticipate?
Well, I'm not looking forward to my electric bill coming.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
And that's something that,
but, let's see.
I will say, after the heat pumps are installed and we get adjusted to that, there will be a learning curve
Yes.
for our electricity bill, I would anticipate increasing.
Right.
So that's something that we should be prepared for with expenses.
Yep. I do believe I had a $1,000 oil bill, might have been 1,100, but it's not as bad as it was last year. So I don't anticipate any issues with the services account this year, so.
Okay. I'm open to dividing it, but my preference would be with Tom to spend down Freetown.
Well, I think you'll need Freetown and a little state.
Yeah,
You don't need
or
to
service,
try.
or
Freetown
state or
and a little
services.
state,
Okay.
little state account. So I would deplete Freetown and take the balance from the state.
So the primary would be Freetown's second state account versus services?
Well, I guess I don't care, but
Is there a preference from Chris?
Nope.
Okay.
what are the restrictions on the state that we can't use at all because of the shared service,
Use.
the use of the building, but
Well, it covers a lot of other things too.
can
It's easier, well, when I sent the email to MBLC, I gave ideas. We could use it to create a pilot program for, Tricia to do a young adult thing, where we would pay her salary through that. We could pay for repairs to the HVAC, which is the boiler, so, but again, a portion it could only go to a portion of the payment. What else,
Let me-
what else did I say?
let me-
Anything that has to do with the library itself.
what provides you the most flexibility so you can get your job done? What combination of accounts is best for you?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, we don't wanna take the state account and then you go, oh, I was saving that for,
Oh, no,
you know,
we're saving that for, we could use that to, we could put in new shelving in the library.
we could do a lot of things.
We could do a lot of things.
But what is best for your operation?
I would have to give you some thought on that one.
Alright, well, I wanna
And
respect
we
that.
have time before the invoice comes, and I would anticipate with the additional work Royal Steam is anticipating, and I say if we're going to get the job done, let's make sure we done correctly
Right.
and get, switches corrected, et cetera. I want it to be the most efficient since we're fixing it now.
Right, so do we have a motion?
Let's look at the bill. I think
Yes.
we've got it in focus, but we haven't
We
allocated
have to pay it before our next meeting.
Yeah, I think we should probably have something in plan to,
So
You certainly have 30 days
So
to pay
I-
a $30,000
well,
bill.
I will present a motion, depending on how it comes in and the way we roughly anticipate it coming in with numbers, of utilizing the Freetown account to the best extent possible, and then anything above and beyond that amount to come from either the state account or from services. Either way, I don't anticipate that we'd have to go much beyond.
Trust me, when we get handed the bill, we'll certainly have 30 days to pay this. This is,
oh, I
if not
understand.
60.
But we could just decide it now, though, is that what,
Well, we don't have the bill.
no, but
What if it comes in
the
at 40?
procedure, just so it could, I don't know.
Well, I agree with
Do
the
you?
3 accounts, but we can't go much further than that.
But what I'm hearing you all say is that you want to eliminate the Freetown account. If you wanna take all the money out of that and use that first.
And that we
We could make a
authorize.
motion
And
for
then,
that by
and then
itself.
remaining
That's what I
funds
meant.
would come from a combination of
State and
state,
services.
state and services.
I think that's
Yes.
fair.
It feels weird to like eliminate one of these
That's where I feel a
ancient
little-
trust funds.
Do you
I
guys
feel
Well-
that too.
feel-
But I do get your point, and they are somewhat problematic, because,
I also feel it would be an opportunity for future trustees, rather than what do I do with this and watch it potentially lose value through maintenance and overtime. When we have an opportunity where we had anticipated funding this perhaps not through an emergency fix, and we need to, without jeopardizing programming and services at the library, I feel like this is the safest to do so without impacting library services.
yeah. So Morgan motioned to use Freetown account to cover the cost of the boiler with, any additional funds needed coming from the state account.
And I also
So
feel
we
like this
just
is a really good use for securing heat, safety, services, keeping the environment from both the library, historical society, and the town offices in the basement. I think it's a really good use. No question we have to pay for it.
Okay. Is that the right?
That's the direction that I'm in. I'm open to
The state
hearing
account and
how you
services.
feel, Connie, Krista,
State or services account?
And or.
Oh,
and or dividing between the two, the balance.
A lot of people think of the trusts as precious,
mhm.
but if you think of them as a leaking boat, they're not as
That's a good
precious.
point. Okay, so is somebody
But also
seconding?
think of this as an incredible gift that was given,
Yeah.
and it is really coming in need in an emergency
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, and you could just, because we saw what happened when we don't have heat, the library was closed for 10
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Or, I guess about 10 days.
Yeah,
Wow.
a classic stock fund, like 500,
Okay.
So do you-
I'll second that
Okay.
motion.
they're turning 20% this year. And ours is getting minus something.
So did you get paid for the time you put in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But Anne lost her hours.
She did, but I've given her, not carte blanche, but I certainly
She can
indicated
make
to
up
her
some
that she
time.
can make up
Okay.
the hours. She's gonna be covering for me next Wednesday.
Okay.
So, all in favor?
I think we have to read the motion.
I'm sorry. Morgan motioned to use the Freetown account to cover the cost of the boiler with any additional funds needed from the state and or services account. Connie seconded. All in favor?
All opposed? Abstained? 4-0-0. Morgan, can we move the scholarship?
I make a motion to move the scholarship rubric, and if possible, I'd like to expand the topic to include the scholarship form itself to March's meeting. Is that appropriate
Yes.
and accepted by the other trustees?
I thought it was really good, but maybe we can add like some place to indicate the different candidates on the side, you know, like we just have the
Names.
columns, name or number or something, you know, just a place for that, but otherwise I thought it was great. Postponed.
Is that a motion or just a
I make a
suggestion?
motion, I'd actually prefer to move it to
Second.
March.
All in favor? Okay. 4-0. Okay. Library director's report.
Okay, I cannot do this at an auctioneer speed, so. Director's report for February 1st, 2024. Curbside pickup 0, patrons 179, students 7 classes, 8 visits, 160 students. Storytime attendees, adults 22, children 32, total attendees 54. Storytime events in January 6. Volunteers, we had 2 with 3 visits and a total of 7.25 hours for the month. Not just knitting, 1 event, 2 attendees. New cards, 2. Facebook page reach, oh, I did this all, I didn't update this, I'm sorry. All of the December should be January. I apologize.
But the numbers are updated?
The numbers are updated. So the Facebook page reach was 6,481. Total page likes is 860. Page followers, 964. Facebook page and profile visits, 553. Instagram page reach, 59. Instagram followers, 140. Instagram profile visits, 10. Most popular Facebook posts, Storytime was canceled for no heat, was 1,615. Number 2 was the four-year book sale at 1,253. We had 47 Wi-Fi connections, and I did not get the answer back for the number of website visits. Library numbers. Hubbardston items circulated regardless of location, 1,551. All items circulated at Hubbardston regardless of ownership, 1,536. Requested holds was 253. Number of patrons registered at Hubbardston, 1,532. Total number of items, 11,620. Overdrive monthly checkouts, 649. Holds on Overdrive, e-audio, 117. Ebooks, 170, for a total of holds of 287. The library was closed for New Year's Day and Martin Luther King Day in January. And the day after Martin Luther King Day due to weather. Thursday, January 18th, I received a call from the town offices in the basement telling me that the temperature was 59 degrees. I managed to get the boiler running again, but by the afternoon there was water on the floor of the boiler room. I called Royal Steam and the technician informed me that the boiler needed replacement. I purchased some oil-filled heaters and placed them in the library to prevent the pipes from freezing. Royal Steam removed the old boiler and installed the new one, and we were back open by January 30th, 2024. I should mention in here, which I didn't, was that we did receive an emergency procurement pass from the state because we lost our boiler.
What does that mean?
That usually what you do is when it's when the bill is over a certain dollar amount, you have to go and get 3 bids. But because it's an emergency and we needed to get it fixed as quickly as possible, I did reach out to a couple companies and some of them said, nah, we're not doing that. But we did get approval from the state, so they're not gonna be mad at us for going out and getting this done without following the complete procedure. Excuse me. The Senior Book Club met on January 24th and discussed The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. There were 5 in attendance. The group will meet again on February 28th at 11 a.m. to discuss The Perfect Storm by Sebastian Younger at the Senior Center in the Slade Building at 7 Main Street. The display for the adult reading room was New Year's resolutions, and the children's reading room was Be Good to Yourself. The February display will be a mixture of Valentine's Day, Black History Month, and President's Day for both rooms. Respectfully submitted, Christine Barbera.
May I add a note going back, and something that I think that the library can do, highlighting the trust that we have received as grants and making a public thank you, naming the Freetown, fund as the means by which the library was able to pay for the emergency, and that we turn this into a story and let the public know of what's happened and how we're able to fund it and thank them, where we will be most likely utilizing this fund for this, and how we received it, and to thank them, because it's not in a means to eliminate the name, but to honor them.
Put a plaque on the boiler door.
Yeah.
There you go.
Does anybody know who the Freetown source was?
I'll do some research on the
Okay, that's
minutes and see what, if
There's
anything
a-
showed up in the minutes for that.
There's a PowerPoint someplace in the shared drive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
could-
did
But
that
you did that,
three,
yeah.
4 years ago, but
Yeah.
can't remember what it said.
But we don't know if it's somebody's name or if it's,
Like the Freetown Masons is what I'm familiar with, another name, but that's
Oh.
different, but I don't know, it could be.
Any questions about the director's report? Alright, did everyone have a chance to read through the January meeting minutes?
I have, and I have a suggested correction, I think in the January meeting, we had a general idea of timeline, and it's referred to saying that the report was due in July, but through later discussion, we determined that the report wasn't actually due until October.
the strategic plan.
Yeah, so I was thinking of making a correction / amend the minutes to understanding that the actual timeline's due for October, but otherwise, as per usual, beautiful notes.
So I can just change it, right?
Yeah. Just a friendly amendment that the timeline to submit the strategic plan is October instead of July.
Okay.
And I make a motion with that correction to approve the minutes from January 2024.
Anybody want a second? Okay, all in favor? Okay. Anything else not reasonably anticipated?
When is this due?
February 29th.
Happy leap year.
Yeah.
So the town report, the annual town report I have to submit to Tony by February 29th, so do you guys have any issues with the, annual town report that I'm gonna submit? I did add a line. Let me grab it. After conversing with Tom and doing some research and making sure I got the numbers right, at the bottom of the first page, adding, where is it? Did I not print it up correct?
No, the very bottom line,
Okay,
the all-in cost.
right, so on the very last paragraph, in 2023, 1,500 Hubbardston residents were library card holders.
Yeah.
We had 2,568 visitors to the library. There was a total of 15,371 items borrowed in 2023, which saved our patrons $226,223 by borrowing rather than buying. The all-in cost of the library is $86,113, resulting in a $2.63 return on every dollar spent. That might be a little bit different because I need the cultural council monies for the programs that we did, but it's gonna be fairly close to that. So that was the only recent change that I made, and I'm just asking if you guys had any other changes that,
Okay, do you, when you talked about the road race, can you throw in Mark's name?
I'm sorry. Road race,
Just like a, you
Mark
know,
Wiggler,
yeah, just.
or the
it's
Wiggler
a-
family, or?
Yeah, the
Wiggle
Wiggler family.
Wiggle family, just
Mark
something that
family,
like,
Mark Wiggler and his family,
yeah.
that I can do.
I was just wondering, I like the introduction part, but, did we actually approve our mission?
Yes.
Just wondering if
Yes.
you wanna, like,
You would
use that
approve it in
wording? Is that what's in here?
I was not going to use it, but you guys did approve it, cause there's a date on it as of January 4th, or whatever date you did
Okay.
last
Oh, so it was approved this year, and this
Yeah.
is a report from last
I
year.
get it,
So-
okay, that makes sense. And does it say that, we're starting our, cause we did start it last year, right, the sort of strategic planning process?
I did not say that, I can certainly add it.
Just like one sentence or something.
Yep. I'll do that under the preservation architect, but before the next paragraph. If that
Sure.
works for you guys,
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Thank
Great
you.
work on it.
Yeah.
And it sounds like February 9th, the Mason people are coming to the library?
Yes, I have that on my calendar.
Okay. That might be also something when we look at the, preservation thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I saw something on there saying pointing
Yep.
needed to be,
Yes,
that they needed to be notified about that.
yep,
So I guess there's two things we have to notify them about.
3 things actually.
Okay.
Let me grab my,
The other guy is coming on the 9th,
yeah, that's what she
up
was.
to the 29th.
The ninth.
No, the 9th.
What time on the night?
He hasn't put, AM,
AM?
says sometime, probably after 9 o'clock, he drives up from West Brookfield, I think.
Yeah, we need to talk to them about removing the railing on this south side of the building and repointing.
Railing, repointing, and the heat pumps.
Right.
Okay. So are you planning on attending that meeting, Tom?
Yes,
Yeah, thanks for following.
and it's a
Thank you very
Friday. I gave him all the hours and he picks Friday, but so be it.
And you also contacted that other company. Was that a different company?
No, this is the same company.
The same company, okay.
If you need a second person, I may be available, so feel free to reach out.
Well, there isn't much to do, we just point and let him look at it.
Hopefully it won't be snowing or raining.
Yeah. When you say remove the railing, did we have to do anything with the historical people to?
That's what I was saying is
Oh,
I have
that's-
to,
that
I'm
was
gonna have
the
3 things that I have to talk
Okay.
to them about. And that's one of them.
I'll send you some pictures of a railing I used on my house, that metal,
Mm-hmm.
and we can replace them on the outside of the steps rather than down the middle of the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really pretty classy, and it's not far from the fence.
Okay.
It's out there.
Alright, it is 8:46,
8:46.
so, I'd like to adjourn this meeting.
Motion made by Connie.
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you all, and it was a long meeting.